Liam had always been a traveller. Every year, he spent 4 months exploring new places, trekking through mountains, wandering through ancient cities, and sailing across endless blue seas. The rest of the time, he worked as a freelance photographer in Europe, capturing the beauty of the world to fund his next adventure. But no matter how many countries he visited, one thing remained the same. He traveled alone. He often imagined meeting someone who shared his love for adventure. Someone who would say, "Let's go," instead of, "Why don't you settle down?" Someone who saw the world not as a map of borders, but as an endless book of stories waiting to be read. He had yet to find that person. One summer, Liam found himself in a charming coastal town in Southeast Asia, a place famous for its golden beaches and breathtaking sunsets. He had arrived that morning, hoping to take some photographs and maybe, just maybe, find a new adventure. But fate had other plans. As he wandered through the town, the scent of roasted coffee beans drifted through the air, pulling him toward a small cafe nestled between two whitewashed buildings. A wooden sign above the door read, "The Hidden Brew." Curious, he stepped inside. The cafe was warm and inviting, with bookshelves lining the walls and soft jazz playing in the background. The aroma of fresh coffee wrapped around him like a comforting embrace. "Welcome. What can I get for you?" Liam turned toward the voice and froze. Behind the counter stood a woman, her dark brown eyes sparkling with curiosity. She had a book in one hand and a coffee cup in the other, as if she had just been pulled from a world of words into reality. Liam blinked. "What do you recommend?" She smiled. "That depends. Are you looking for something familiar or something new?" Liam chuckled. "Always something new." Her smile widened. "Then you'll want our special. It's not on the menu." "Perfect," he said, and surprised me. Her name was Lian. She had grown up in this town, watching travelers come and go, always moving, always chasing something. But she had never wanted to leave. She loved the rhythm of the waves, the scent of books mixed with coffee, the way the town felt like home, no matter how many strangers passed through. As they talked, Liam found himself intrigued. "Don't you ever want to see the world?" he asked. Lian tilted her head, thinking, "I do. But not in the way you do. I don't need to go everywhere to feel connected to the world. Sometimes, the world comes to you." Liam raised an eyebrow. "That sounds like something a wise philosopher would say." She laughed. "Or just someone who serves coffee to people from every corner of the earth." They continued talking, one conversation turning into another. Liam found himself returning to the Hidden Brew every morning. They spoke of books, of places he had seen, of dreams and memories. She told him about the little things she loved, how the first sip of coffee felt like magic, how she could spend hours lost in a novel, how watching the sunset never got old. And Liam, for the first time in years, found himself pausing. He was supposed to leave in 2 weeks, but he didn't. Instead, he stayed. Days turned into weeks, and Liam found himself rooted in a way he had never been before. They never spoke of love. There were no grand confessions, no promises of forever. Just stolen moments over cups of coffee, shared smiles across a cafe counter, long walks through the town, and evenings watching the waves crash against the shore. But the longer Liam stayed, the more the question lingered. Was he meant to keep moving? Or had he finally found a place to stay? Then, one evening, as they sat on the beach watching the sky turn shades of pink and gold, Liam spoke first. "You'll be leaving soon, won't you?" Liam exhaled slowly. "I don't know." She smiled, but there was something sad in her eyes. "You do. You always do." Silence stretched between them, filled with words they couldn't say. Finally, Liam nodded. "Yeah, I guess I do." And so, when the time came, he left. No promises, no goodbyes, just a lingering touch on her hand, a soft "take care," and the sound of the cafe door closing behind him. Liam returned to Europe, throwing himself into his work. His photographs were praised more than ever, his career flourishing. But something was missing. Every cup of coffee tasted dull. Every new city felt less exciting. He would sit in cafes, scrolling through old pictures of the hidden brew, wondering if she ever thought of him the way he thought of her. Lian, too, found her life subtly altered. The cafe was the same, the sunset still breathtaking. But she caught herself glancing at the door, expecting to see a familiar traveler walk in with his camera slung over his shoulder. She told herself she had imagined it all, that he was just another traveler passing through. But late at night, when the cafe was quiet, she would reread their old conversations in her mind and wonder. It took Liam a full year to realize it. He had spent his whole life searching for someone who would travel the world with him. But maybe, just maybe, what he really wanted was someone who would make him want to stay. So he booked a flight, back to the little town, back to the hidden brew. The cafe hadn't changed. The bookshelves were still full. The coffee still smelled like home. And behind the counter stood Lian. She looked up, and for a moment, there was only silence. Then slowly, she smiled. "You're late," she said. Liam grinned. "Got lost, but I found my way back." Liam tilted her head. "So, what can I get for you?" Liam leaned against the counter, his heart pounding. "Something familiar," he said. "And something new." Liam laughed softly. "You always were full of surprises." She handed him a cup. He took a sip, then looked at her, his voice steady. "I'm not leaving again. If you'll have me, I'd like to stay." Liam held his gaze, her fingers brushing against his as she passed him the cup. "Took you long enough," she murmured. And this time, Liam knew. He wasn't going anywhere.